Chapter 13. Hutch was in the papers again. The Sun Sentinel this time, the big paper in Fort Lauderdale. The Hutchinsons hardly ever saw the Sun Sentinel, even if the paper was sold up in Palm Beach. But somebody had called Hutch's mom first thing in the morning, and she'd run over to the 7-Eleven to get it before she had to leave for work. When she showed it to Hutch, he'd said, "Great." "Yes," his mom said. "It must be a terrible burden for you sports celebrities, all this media attention." "Mom, you don't understand." "Your picture in the paper being a bad thing? You're right. I don't understand." Hutch turned to the sports section over and said, "It's just going to make Daryl hate me even more." "I seriously doubt that Daryl hates you." "He's the star of every team he plays on," Hutch said, "and the last couple of games people have treated me like I'm the star." Connie Hutchinson said, "And that's a bad thing, too?" "Daryl thinks it was his ball, that it should have been his catch," Hutch said. "He called for it, and everybody heard him except me, and so he blames me for us banging into each other." He leaned back in his chair so far that he nearly tipped over and said, "Ugh, I give up." "Talk to Daryl," his mom said, "even though it's not the guy thing to do." Hutch didn't care if it was the guy thing to do or not. He knew his mom was right. Hutch decided to make things right with Daryl, even though he hadn't meant to do anything wrong. After all, it wasn't like he was trying not to hear him when they were both going after the ball. It wasn't like he wanted to run into the guy at full speed and maybe lose the game in the process. If you thought about it, the only thing Hutch was guilty of was trying too hard, concentrating so much on trying to make a play and win the game that he had blocked out everything else, including the sound of Daryl's voice. But none of that mattered now. It was Hutch's job as team captain, as a team guy, not to let things get any worse between him and Daryl, not when they were so close to winning a championship. They had to stop acting like they were on different teams instead of being teammates. Hutch wanted to root for Daryl and have Daryl root for him, mostly because he'd never been on a good team in his life when everybody wasn't rooting for everybody else. So what if Hutch had been on television? So what if he was in the papers again? Everybody knew this was Daryl's team. Everybody knew who their star really was. Didn't they? Hutch thought Cody might fight him on apologizing to Daryl, just because Cody had never acted like Daryl's biggest fan. But when Hutch told him on the way to practice what he planned to do, Cody agreed it was a good idea. "You know why?" Cody said. "Because you don't need the hassle." "I'm just going to tell him that everybody heard him except me. That's on me," Hutch said. "It's what a captain should do." There was a little convenience store a block away from the field, and Mrs. Hester dropped them there so they could pick up some Gatorade. Before she drove away, she reminded them that Mr. Hutchinson was picking them up today. They bought 2-quart bottles of blue Gatorade each, threw them in their backpacks, and walked the rest of the way to Santa Luce's. They weren't in their spikes yet, just wearing their flip-flops, knowing they were early, not caring. They could never be early enough for baseball, and usually they were the first ones to arrive at practice. But not today. Hutch was the one who heard the sound of a ball hitting an aluminum bat right before he saw that there were already 2 people on the field at Santa Luce's, one hitting ground balls, the other fielding them out at short, mimicking throws over to first before lobbing the ball back to home plate. The fielder was Daryl, who was never early to practice, even though he lived only a few blocks from here with his mom. But he was early today. That wasn't the biggest surprise, not even close. The biggest surprise was the guy at the plate, Hutch's dad.